What's up, guys? I thought I'd come on and give a little rundown on my thoughts on the Battlefield 6 campaign. I see a lot of people have been jumping on, giving their thoughts on the multiplayer and stuff like that. But I haven't really seen anyone talking about the campaign. And, I know that, buying a Battlefield game for the campaign is like going to a dirty kebab shop and getting a salad, right? It's not what you're there for. You're there for the multiplayer. But I enjoy a good campaign, and there's lots of people that get a game for the campaign. It's a big part for them. Sometimes people, just want to come home from work and just chill out for a couple hours and get lost in a good story, get immersed. A campaign is a big part of it for some people, and I enjoy it as much as the next dude. So we'll start with the setting of it. So I actually quite like the setup of this campaign. It's air quotes, NATO is the good guys versus Pax Armada, who are like this big multi-million-dollar corporation, worldwide corporation. And the reason I like the setup is because obviously you've sort of got similar feeling corporations today. Not obviously, I'm not saying the evil corporations by any means, but some of these big corporations where you see it now in today's world, you think, could they tip forward into that way where they get more into politics and then they get into sort of military things, and you can see sort of elements of that now, so I quite like that. It seemed quite realistic. The game looks fantastic. It looks absolutely great. The particle effects, the explosions, the gunshots, the way your bullets ricochet off things. It looks fantastic, and some of the backdrops are just really, really nice. The art direction has been fantastic on this game. There's a part where you're in the back of a cargo plane, and all of your squad mates are there, and you're gearing up, ready to jump out. And that whole setup in there, you're talking to characters on the plane before, and everything looks so clean. The characters are so cool. And then the door opens, and you can see the clouds, and you can hear the wind, and it's unbelievable. And then when you finally jump out the back of the cargo plane, and you're free falling. Now I've parachuted myself, and like the feeling and the wind running, like whizzing past your hair, and the moisture hitting your visor and stuff, and like just the hit from the wind you get, it sort of came through in the game. Like the audio and the look of it was just absolutely class. You're falling through the sky, you can see the sun coming through, then you burst through the clouds, and there's this hellish backdrop of the mountains, and it looked awesome. Following on from that, the audio is absolutely top notch. It's probably like one of the best things about this game overall, to be honest. The way the guns feel, the way the guns sound. The gunplay is heavy and weighty when you're using a bolt action rifle. Like when you hit someone with a shot, like you feel the weight of the round. It feels really meaty, and the audio is class. When you're just creeping through missions and stuff, you hear like the screams go in the distance, you hear explosions in the distance, gunfights going on, you feel like you're really in like a conflict. When you connect with your rounds and stuff, you see there's a good amount of gore that comes off the bodies, and the sort of body acts how you'd expect to react in like real life. The gunplay and everything feels realistic, the way that you fight with people. Really like that. Yeah, the audio is unbelievable. That's pretty much where I run out of good points. I mean, look, it's fine. It's fine, but this campaign is just plagued with like generic set pieces, and it's just your stereotypical characters. And so we'll get into it. It starts off, and within the first 5 minutes, you're in a Humvee, and you're in like a set piece, and you're just driving this car through all these explosions, and you're driving past tanks, and you're driving through, like little squadrons of guys, and you must see like 60, 70 soldiers, enemy jeeps, like helicopters and all that, and you're just expected that you can just whiz through in a little Humvee, and it's just these set pieces that they have in games. It just feels like you're following the NPCs from set piece to set piece, and it's like, follow the NPC here, now get down, now do this, Now follow the NPC here. Now stay quiet. Now do this. And I don't know. It's just boring. It feels like you're on rails. It feels like when you go to the airport and them like the flat sort of travelator things they've got, like the flat escalators where you just put your case on and you're just going along. It's just a point of getting you from A to B, and you can look around and you can see some nice things, but you can't go back, you can't go side to side, you can't do anything that you're just sort of on rails and you're just along for the ride really. And I don't know, it's just I hate to compare it, but it feels like so COD 4 did it really well with was it all gillied up, the sniper mission in Pripyat where you're stealthing through the bushes and then you're just trying to get that one sniper shot. They did it really well because if you went slightly off the beaten track, you get detected, and even though you had to stick to someone, it was still like quite tense. Whereas now in games they just have this thing where you feel safe and you just go from you have a little cutscene, little interaction with your NPCs, and then you'll move forward and you don't feel like under threat, and then all of a sudden the music kicks in and they're like, oh, enemies coming in, and then you have a little firefight, a little set piece there, and then you're safe again until the next bit. I don't know, it just sort of takes me out of it. It just makes it a bit boring. And then when you do get into the fighting as well, I think the NPCs are like cracked, to be honest, because I mean I'm playing on veteran. I know there's a higher difficulty mode. There's like insane or impossible, whatever it is. I'm playing on veteran, which still should be difficult. And I think I've only been downed like twice in the entire campaign. It's just the NPCs are really aggressive. So you'll go into a building or you'll go into an area, you'll clear out one or two bad guys, and then the NPCs, when you've got like a lot of times you have like three NPCs with you, and they'll just mop up. I'll kill one or two, and then they'll just go through the rest of the house, and all right, okay, so I don't really have to do anything then. And then on top of that as well, there's a button, a one tap button, like it's called engagement. I think it's like a skill on a cooldown. You tap that, and then they instantly target like the nearest three people. And so even if you can't see the enemies or if they're in windows behind cover, you just tap that and the enemy just annihilates them. And that regens so quick, so you could just stay behind cover and just keep tapping this button. You could probably get through a mission without firing a shot in a lot of cases. And then if you do go down, you get revived. Even on veteran, like you get revived. I hate to go back to it again, but like you remember Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, Call of Duty World at War. Veteran on that game was just tense, and it was an achievement to get through it. And like you just couldn't wait to get to the next checkpoint, and you felt like you'd really accomplished something. Whereas on this, I mean, even probably on the hardest difficulty, you could probably do it in 6 or 7 hours. I'm on veteran now, and it's probably about 6 hours of gameplay. And that's sort of taking my time as well. Now there was some good points, like the first couple of missions. I just found them really boring. The third mission, when you do like a beach landing, and you're clearing these streets with you're following like an IFV, and you're going through the streets, and that was really cool because I felt like I was having to take cover behind the IFV. There was loads of enemy contacts up high, and they were in different buildings. I didn't know where they were. I wasn't using the engagement button, and I sort of felt a bit surrounded. I was getting shot at from all over, and it was tense, and I was having to take out a few enemies, then push up. But again, I only had like one NPC with us, and so they weren't doing a lot. And I really, really liked that mission. The third mission for me was probably my favourite. But then on the flip side of that, you go into mission 4, where you've got 3 NPCs, and it's like a nighttime mission. And you're literally just following a set of instructions all the way through. And it's just boring. It's just boring. It's just like, let's take you to the next set piece. Let's take you to the next set of explosions. Let's take you to the next firefight. I mean, it's like the game's being done by Michael Bay. Your characters are your stereotypical American characters, and they're so forgettable, and it's like, I don't know, it just ruins the immersion a bit for me, and it just takes me out of it, and I just sort of zone out a bit when I'm playing something like this. Battlefield 1, the campaign, it got a lot of criticism for the stories, the war stories, because, they were quite short, and it was something a bit different, but I loved them. I thought the war stories were great, because all the characters were likeable, and I became invested in the characters. And there was a mission where you're in like a tank going over the top of the trenches, and it's dirty and it's gritty, and you're sort of getting hit by tanks and enemy enemy artillery or whatever, like that's hidden in trees and you can't see it, and it hasn't got like a notification as to where they are, and you don't know where you're gonna get hit from, and it's dead tense, and it's rewarding to get through it. And I found myself invested in that campaign, even though it was only short. And this, like I say, it's fine. It's fine for what it is. If you want to just try it out and, you know, you want to just come home from a hard day's work or whatever and you want to just lose yourself in an hour, it's fine. It's alright as an addition. As I say, nobody's going to be rushing out to buy this game for the campaign. If you were thinking of it, I certainly wouldn't advise it. I would say wait for a sale. But, you know, if you maybe you've been grinding out multiplayer and you want to try something different, you know, go on, have a little play about on the single player. But I'd strongly recommend putting it on, if not veteran, then probably the hardest difficulty. You know, I'm going to go back through on it on the highest difficulty and see if it's a bit more rewarding. There's a clip here where, I mean, this was like, I think this was mission 5 or mission 6, so it was quite far through the game. And I was just meandering from point to point, just walking forward and just hip firing these enemies, and you know, just very boring, mundane gameplay where I'm not even having to take cover, where I can just literally walk up to the enemy and just hip fire them. So yeah, it's fine for what it is. You know, I'd say the multiplayer for me is like a 9.5 out of 10. It feels like a really good return to form. I really like it. It reminds me of like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. I'm loving the multiplayer, but the campaign, you know, it's a 5 at best. It's forgettable. You'll not be able to name any of the characters after a week. But those are just my thoughts on it, guys. Just in case you were thinking of getting it, you know, I thought I'd give you my insights on it, and then it might help you to make a decision as whether to buy it or not if you were thinking about getting the campaign. As again, it's just my thoughts. If you guys have played the campaign, you might have thought differently. You might have thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. So if you like the campaign, if you didn't like the campaign, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you're enjoying the multiplayer. I'm absolutely having a blast with it. If you do want to catch any multiplayer gameplay, I'm always live on Twitch at PandaRobo. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.